Last night was, yeah, I had a little, rocking and rolling going on, and not the kind the adults like, but, it was, it was, look, I'm about 70 miles from where these maybe 70, 80 miles around from where these earthquakes were taking place. Um, I only felt really one, and it was pretty minor. My roommate felt like 5 or 6 of them. She's also getting alerts, and she's just more prone to feeling like earthquakes. And so what was going on last night about, I don't know, was it just before midnight, I guess, give or take? Um, there was a 4.8 earthquake in El Centro, which is just south of the Salton Sea, and it was initially put as a 5.2. There was an alert that went out. It got downgraded to 4.8, but still significant. And then immediately after that, there was probably about 6 earthquakes that were at least 3 above, and they were just one after another in a matter of minutes. And then after that, there's been about 100 more microquakes and smaller quakes, but there's been about 3 or 4, maybe 4 that was about 3.0 or higher. So it looks like, again, I'm not a geologist, not even trying to be, just is just, what I've read. It looks like that it was an initial shock, and then after that, these are all aftershocks. But until you get a bigger shock, then there's no way to know. They could be force shocks, right? They could be magma going underneath the earth, causing this shifting, because this is what usually causes these types of swarms, apparently. Suzanne's getting a lot of them in Costa Rica. There's been some in Japan recently, but not like this, not like a swarm like this. Um, but this is what it looks like. This is what I find to be like, interesting, because I don't usually see this, although it's not too abnormal. But it looks like this. Okay, this is the downtown city of El Centro, and all the yellow is in the area of the city. All the outside is farmland, and I've compared it to using Google Lens to other swarms, and it seems to be what you would find in other swarms as well. Like this one was in Salt Lake City, and this was caused by magma. Here's a swarm in Denver. Um, Here's one in, where's this one? This one is that's in Salt Lake City. But this is what it's been doing all night long. All these different microquakes between 1 and 2, little over 2. Some of them are 2 to 3 magnitude. Now, remember that a magnitude means that it is 10 times as worse. So the energy released from a magnitude 1 to a 2 is 10 times more powerful. 10 times more energy is being released. That's what it's measuring. How much energy is being released. That has to do with the duration of the earthquake and the amount of movement of the earthquake. So the longer it is, the more energy is being released. And so, a solid earthquake that lasts, 20, 30 seconds is going to be a higher magnitude. And so when you're getting starting around to get the magnitudes 4 or higher, they're definitely notable. And then the deeper they are, generally, the more further out you can feel them. The more shallow they are, not so much. It's more localized, but of course, it's going to be a lot more rattling. And so if you look at the cameras for El Centro, they had some pretty significant shaking for the 4.8, because that 4.8 is, 10 times. Magnitude 10 is 10 times, so magnitude 3 is 100 times, magnitude 4 is 1,000 times, magnitude 5 is 10,000 times. So it's almost 10,000 times more powerful than a magnitude 1 earthquake. Yeah, a 6 in Virginia would go, it could go on for a while, right? Because more energy is being used to move those tectonic plates. The way El Centro is located between these two other fault lines, and so it kind of settles between the San Jacinto fault line and the San Andreas fault line. I again, I'm not a seismologist. This is just what I'm read, and I happen to like this particular topic because I'll explain to you why in a second. But this seems to be on the San Jacinto fault line, and there's a magnet that runs all throughout that area. There's the Salton Sea buttes, which are, or butts, what do you want to call them, are right there at a volcano, and then there's these trough that goes right through El Centro. And so, I have not heard anybody say whether it's magma or not. I've read the news. Nobody's saying whether it's any kind of magma that's causing plate tectonic shifting. But to show you guys what I find interesting is this. So let me show you actually the Salton Sea. Well, let me show you this first. If I did not, this is I think I did. Did I show you this already? Maybe not. Because we had 83 quakes this week. Yeah, a lot of quakes. So I know this is small. I can't really blow it up. I apologize, but this is a map of the California, Nevada earthquakes, and you can see right here, all these in blue within the last day. I think it's what's happening is all the ones that are happening in the last hour are not even showing up. I don't know why, but these have all happened in the last hour. I didn't want to do that. What happened there? Oops, what happened there? Where did that go? Here we go. Try that again. Sorry, I don't know. For some reason, it shut down on me, closed on me. All right, so these are all the ones. So the last one that happened was a 2.5, and that was at 9:36 this morning. El Centro. So if you see El Centro or Imperial, those are pretty much the same ones. So all these last night, that's all in the El Central and Imperial were all in that area, that swarm. Here was a 3.5 that happened around 6 o'clock this morning, a 3.4 that happened around 6 o'clock this morning. But this was 3.0 that happened 3:30. Every one of these looks like it's El Centro. So these are all El Centro. But it started way back here last night. All these are still El Centro for the most part. Heber's still El Centro. Heber's just south of El Centro. And they're still going. So here's the initial one. So it looks like these were like in Brawley, Banning, Idlewild, and so these are all typical. When I've looked at this site numerous times, you see these all the time in California. They're all the time. But what you don't see all the time is this: when you have a 4.8 earthquake, and all of a sudden, and this was at just after midnight, 12:36 a.m. 12:37, there was a 3.6. 12:38, there was a 3.6, another 3.6, another 4.6, all at relatively the same depths. Most of the time, they're around 10 kilometers, give or take. So these are just right in the sweet spot for a earthquake because they're 11 kilometers, 13 kilometers, 10 kilometers, all within the same geographical location, clearly, right? And then there's a couple smaller ones, and then about 5 minutes later, there's another 4.5, which is pretty significant, a 3.5, then these smaller quakes, and then in about 40 minutes later or so, 50 minutes later, there was a 3.9, which is just shy of 4, obviously. And then that's been going on all through the night with all these hundreds of microshocks. And again, it looks like these are aftershocks. It looks like that was the main earthquake right here. So as I understand it, and again, talk to a seismologist if you know one, but as I understand it, you have an initial shock. And then after that initial shock, you have tapering off of the aftershocks, which it looks like it's happening. They do look like they're diminishing on average of the magnitude, right? They're going down to like these 1.0s. It fluctuates. There's some 2.0s, but we're not seeing any 3 or 4 that much. We see 1, but it sure looks like it's farther away in time than these initial ones that were right here, right? So that looks like it's something that's dying out. However, that doesn't mean much. We understand again that it could still be a force shock to a bigger one, or it could trigger something else. But this is the Salton Sea. I live up here, north of here, so again, about 70 to 90 miles from where these are going on. The Salton Sea is about 45 minutes for me, give or take 40, 50 miles. But this is what I find to be really interesting. So, because I love this. I don't know if you guys ever done this before, but if you guys ever gone to Google Earth and looked at all the volcanoes that are out there, all the dormant ones and all the old ones, and see how they've moved over a period of time, you actually can see how earthquakes have like made a marring of the crust of the earth, came to a small cone, had a magna release, and had lava come out, and then a few miles later you see another cone, and then a few miles later you see another cone. This is because magna's pushing up, bursts through, over long period of times, tens of thousands, if not millions of years, and then goes as the crust is moving on this liquid magma, uh, uh, liquid magma of the mantle, just above the mantle. You have literally these volcanoes that just push through. And it's just really neat to see. But if you go to Google Earth, this is the Salton Sea. This is El Centro. This is where the earthquakes are happening, right all in this little area right here. And there's a volcanic tectonic trowel, they call it. That goes right down this middle here, which is where these things are coming from on the San Jacinto Fault. The San Andreas Fault, it runs this way. So this right here up from Joshua Tree, this right here is the San Andreas Fault that runs alongside of the Salton Sea. And it's probably about 1 mile, 2 miles from my house or apartment where I'm at. I can literally, with a couple miles, just walk to it's because the I-10 goes right through Indio. It goes right next to the San Andreas Fault. So this fault line right here, if you see it, you can actually see the fault line. This is the San Andreas Fault line that goes all the way up. See this right here? See that right there? This right here is that fault line, and it goes all the way up, and it's pushing up the mountain range here and goes all the way up. But it also goes all the way down here to the Salton Sea. And right here, do you guys know this? Right here is Red Island Volcano. This is a volcano. And this is an active region. There are mud flats, there are volcanoes all through, or that's not one, but there's remnants of volcanoes all throughout this region. And you can even go further and you see down in Mexico these remnants. I think is it right here? Yeah. See? No, that's not it. I'll find you one. That looks like it may have been a cinder cone. That's all volcanic rock, obviously, but some of them have really good fields called a magma field. And I don't remember. It's usually you can see it really easy. Can you guys see this? Yeah, I guess you guys can. And also, you go north, you can see them really easy. There's a Mount Shasta up here next to Sacramento. That these are all active volcanoes. Let's see where they at. Where's that at? Where's Mount Rainier, Mount Shasta? Three Sisters are all in here somewhere. You gotta get pretty close to see them sometimes. Where are they at? It's funny when I'm not looking for them. I could just spot them right away from the air. I've looked at them so many times. Now, okay, I can't find them. Where are these little bad boys? I know they're up against these mountains here. I'm looking. That one? No. Dang it. I'm telling you, you can spot these things from the air. I mean, you can see the volcanoes and the magna where they came from. Here, I think that's one. There we go. Yeah, there we go. These are definitely one. Here we go. Crater El Gante, giant crater. That's a volcano, right? Clearly, it's a volcano. And then the lava flow. And here's another one. And Google Earth is really cool for checking these things out, man. I just find it absolutely fascinating that we can see the remnants of things that are millions and millions and millions of years old. This is, again, why Young Earth creationism is such nonsense. These didn't form in 7,000 years. These are millions of years old. But you can use Google Earth and you can go through and you can discover these ancient volcanoes. You can see they're circular. You can see the flow from them. I mean, again, I'm not a volcanologist, but I don't think you have to be to go, oh yeah, that's clearly a volcano, and it's a crater. It's a lava dome crater. Um, and then there's a whole bunch of here. See, look at these. Isn't that awesome though? All this igneous rock, all this, lava rock, which is very, very sharp stuff, um, is all from these volcanoes. These dormant. Well, these are dormant, obviously, but um, this is what's happening up here in um, the Salton Sea. There are some old volcanoes craters you can see here up here. I would have to go searching for them, but I've seen them before. You really have to hunt for them, but you can definitely see that this has been all volcanic region up here, and mud flows. So this is an active region. This is considered one of the active volcano regions. Obviously, there's literally right there, Red Island volcano. That's not just a name. That is a volcano. Um, Now, what would happen if this actually erupted? Now, what would happen is probably just have lava going about 5, 6 miles. Um, wouldn't go very far, but it's just a very slow moving volcano. But I looked into it, and I'm 70 miles away, so I'm perfectly safe. But anybody in these areas right here would probably be, have to evacuate. These are the old mud pots right here that people go look at when they go down to the Salton Sea. They're still active. There's still geothermal activity there. There's still boiling mud that you can come up from the ground here in these old mud pots. So this is clearly a seismically active region. This is clearly a region that has seismic activity, has volcanic activity, and it literally the fault goes right down to here, and this is all probably with magma underneath as well. Anza has a lot of earthquakes normally. Anza has a lot of earthquakes, but this is the first time I've seen somebody like in El Centro in a swarm, and then it goes up to Imperial. So it's been going up there as well, and then there's one in Herbert. So Herbert, El Centro, Imperial, Anza. This is all one area right here. So possible to say if they're related, but all the earthquakes that have been going on in California right now, for the most part, have been in this one little area right here. You know, so anyways, how cool is that, man? So a little little interesting. So you know, I just thought I'd give you an update of what's been going on in California, the shake, rattle, and roll, but let you know that we're safe. There hasn't been any big one, and if there was, it's it doesn't look like there's going to be a bigger earthquake. It looks like these are all aftershocks. Doesn't mean it's impossible, but it's possible. I doubt it though. It doesn't look like it. But I just thought it was really cool that last night we were, awake and going, man, this is trippy because I felt something. I felt something in my chair, and Kano goes. She looked at me and I was like, earthquakes. She's like, yeah, I got alert on it. And I'm like, oh, okay, so you felt it too. She's like, oh yeah. And then she's like, I just felt another one. I'm like, I don't feel it, but and then an alert came up on her phone. Um, and wondering why so many, it is probably, like I said, it's probably a fault that area it sits on um, between two other plates or other areas where the lands have shifted. It sits in a recessed area, and so because of that, it has a lot of seismic activity. I don't remember that. Was it it starts with a G? What is it called again? Oh shoot! I just put it out last night. I forgot what it even was. Yeah, it starts with a G. What was it again? I totally remember. Totally forgot. Here, I'll show you. I got a screenshot of it somewhere. Uh, 1 sec. Yeah, I just don't remember what the hell it's called. A graben, a graben. Is it graben or graben? I don't even know. Graben or graben. But I'll show you what it looks like here. I got a picture of it. All right. So the horse is the raised area. The graben is the or Graben. I think it's Graben. It's a lower area. So as the plates slide, these areas shift, and El Centro is located in the Graben here. It's mostly located between two raise regions, and so it's probably settling in on the two fault on the fault lines, and so that's what's causing the aftershocks after the initial shocks. Something shifted, it fell, it's now, settling in. Yeah, and it is my fault. I caused these earthquakes. I admit it. It's just my massive power that I have. Steve's fault, and I swear to God, California better name a fault Steve, fault line Steve's fault. It better. That would be the ultimate tribute to me. Make it happen, minions. Make it happen. That'd be so cool, right? That'd be so cool. Yeah, I think it does start around from the Salton Sea area, and then it goes, but it's all in that one little area. Then there's the trough that goes through El Centro down to Mexico, but there's also that fault line from the San Andreas that goes all the way up north, and then on the other side you have the Santa Rosa Mountains. So where I'm situated, you've got Yucca Valley to the north of us, which is going to be near Joshua Tree and Camp Pendleton and all that stuff, and then the south of us, I've got Clexio, Salton Sea is mostly like south west of us, but it's going to be El Centro. But then to the east of us, I've got the Santa Rosa Mountains, and the Santa Rosa Mountains have fault lines in them too. So yeah, I really there's really fault lines all around here. So, but of course, the San Andreas is the most well known, right? Um, it's not as well known as the San Jacinto fault, or there's the one of the Santa Rosas is a similar type. It's called a right lateral strike slip fault. Um, and that just means that one's slipping under the other, and that the direction is going one particular way. Normally, on some of the other ones I've looked into, you have what's called a subduction zone, where you have two plates that are pushing against each other, and as they do, one plate will slip underneath the other one and produce a subduction all the way almost, to the crust itself. I don't know how far into the outer mantle it goes, but it goes a pretty good distance into the earth, and so those types of land masses where one slips into the other, then one juts up, and that produces a mountain range like the Himalayas is caused by that. So again, not a geologist, not a volcanologist. This is just grade school level stuff here. I'm not trying to to give you guys science on this one, because that's people know that geology is probably my least read subject. I don't read a lot about geology. The only thing I've ever read was dealing with like paraconformities on the Grand Canyon in Arizona, because creationists love to think that was made, within 6 days in the flood or whatever it was. It was made during the flood, which is completely bunk, obviously. But if you go look at the actual stratigraphy, the layers, there's no possible way. It's many millions of years to different times. But anyways, like I said, quick hangout, nothing of any consequence. I just wanted to tell you guys that everybody's okay. It looks like it's dying down. But I just thought that was cool. That was cool that there was this swarm, literally a swarm, they call it, of uh, earthquakes going on. Now, normally, what's funny is normally though, when a swarm doesn't have an initial large quake, it's just a bunch of little quakes. From what I understand, they call it a swarm, but they're still calling this a swarm, even though there was a um, initial quake and then a tapering. But I thought from what I've read, there was a foreshock, aftershock, and swarm shocks, which are basically just random type shocks. But again, I guess it all depends how you look at it, right? So, anyways, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to be doing some testing tonight using vMix, probably on this channel. So if you guys want to help me with that, that's cool. I think I've got the audio and video fixed. I, for some reason, haven't used it for so long. My settings all went quacky and wacky, and I don't know. So I wanted to test that out, but I needed real-time feedback to do that if you're interested. I also wanted to promote my blog. I wrote a blog entry last night. There seemed to have been a problem with the certification, saying that unsafe. It happens once a year. It just means that the certification for the encryption is no longer valid. My admin guy is great, and he hosts that, and he's been nice, to do so. He usually fixes it within a week or two, and it might even be fixed now. I don't know. But if you go to my blog and you get that error, there's nothing to it. It's just no big deal. But I did write a response to something that somebody sent me that I've seen before, and I was like, man, this keeps coming up. I'm going to refute it. And basically, it was a blog that was written 5 years ago by a guy that thought he could disprove 0.99 repeating equals 1, and so I kind of ripped through it. So if you want to go check that out, just go to www.greatdebatecommunity.com and look at the last blog that I wrote. Okay. So, anyways, thank you guys. Thanks for watching. That's it. Quick hangout, but there we go. Peace.